All right. So we know that we've been dealing with indigenous ship, aboriginal title, and constitutional law. Yes, I'm on. All right. So we're gonna get into that information. Peace to everyone. Ehate Washito Ish. Assalamu alaikum. Aberigani. Ruru. Suit Tech. All that good stuff. To everyone coming on up in here. All right. Brother L, I am on YouTube, so I don't know if you can see me yet. Um, you should be able to see me live on YouTube right now. We got Google Hangout also going on, as well as also here on free conference call. So we got everybody going on. I got one more to get going on, and that is Blog Talk Radio. So let me bring that in right quick. Get everything going. Everybody come on in. And man, traditional wear, dress, and style of the indigenous people. Because we did this class once before, but we never got a chance to put it on out to the masses. So we think that this is definitely help because there's a lot of people talking about why we shouldn't be wearing fezzes and why you got the tassel and stuff. And obviously, they haven't done enough research to speak on it, but yet they always love to give their opinion how the fez is a Turkish thing because they've listened to SETI and other people who have done not enough research to talk about anything. But instead of going and doing the research, they rather quote and mimic and parrot what someone else said. So what we're going to do is deal with that tonight and destroy all the mythology and tie everything back in like we always do. We always do. We're the ones in which that have to do this. It's tied in, you know. So we always got to make up for all the errors in which that has been done over the past, as they say, because we're here, and that's how that goes. So the things in which that has been told to us, that's been misinformation, disinformation. We now have to get that information out correctly. All right. So just bear with me as I get this information going with Blog Talk. All right. If we got any questions, we can ask right now. I see some more people came on. If not, just hold on, hold on. We're going to get it. We're going to get it. All right. All right. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Brother Al. Well, Brother El-Bey now. It's been so long with calling Brother L that, shoot, it's hard for me to break out of that. All right. So, um, let me get on here. And like I said, we putting it on to Blog Talk Radio Show. All right. Putting on to the Blog Talk Radio Show. Get that in. But just bear with us. Hey, blog talk, blog talk. In today's class is going to be on indigenous dress and wear of the American indigenous aborigines, i.e. Moors, Sagamores. All right, so just keep that in mind as we go over today's subject. We're talking about traditional dress now among our people, traditional dress among our people. All right? Oh, yeah. All right? All right, hopefully this is a little bit better here. Now y'all can see. I don't know. Y'all can't really see me that good. All right, well, I'm trying to get enough light up here. All right, so here we go. Yeah, that's good right there. Okay, what? Okay, there we go. All right, much better. Lighting much better, y'all. All right. Yeah. Okay, you can see me, brother Al? All right, all right. Okay, much. All right, clear. Okay. All right, much better. All right, so let me get on Blog Talk right here before we get everything going, y'all. As we setting up the lighting, just bear with us. Y'all know how we got to do. Sure. All right. Okay. All right, all right. It's about that time. So let me get up on here. And then we're going to get started. All right. See the screen. Those in class. That looks better. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, that actually looks better. You can see the picture and everything now, at least. I mean, yeah.
That is cool. It's no TV show.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, you know, we ain't got the so-called bright, you know, we got to bring the light real close up in this piece. All right. All right, so thanks, Brother Self, for checking this out, getting that straight for us. All right, here it comes. Getting on Blog Talk now. We had, but you know how it is. We got to work through it.
Straight said he didn't get his notifications from YouTube.
They ain't even getting notifications now from YouTube. Ain't that something?
Started at set time.
Ain't that something? So now that is amazing. You should be getting everything. If they'll let me get. Yeah. All right, I got it. All right, so, hold on, what's going on? Okay, there we go. All right, so we're gonna get on up into it because we a little bit behind time, but we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. Just bear with y'all. Okay. All right. All right, there you go, brother. Thank you, brother L. Thank you, thank you. All right, so let's get. All right, well, let's get it popping. And we know that so-called white supremacy, even though we seen a video yesterday talking about white supremacy doesn't exist. The only reason why it doesn't exist is because the people that we refer to as so-called white are not white. At least not by so-called definition, because we know that's a fictitious term. Right? We know that it's fictitious. All right. Matter of fact, let me make sure this is recorded. Bam. All right, there we go. And so we know that black, white, are fictitious de facto terms. However, white is used in the Black's Law Dictionary. Free white person does not include Caucasians, and white person does include Caucasian. So since that is the case, then white supremacy starts, as it says here, Native American history, with a late 19th century photo of a Mongolian or Mongoloid, all right, plain Indian, all right, who is clearly Asian, not American, and falsely say that this is who was genocide and killed by disease. However, you actually have the Choctaw or Chocma, all right, a Choctaw, all right, as you see here in the upper right-hand corner, Ida Lawson Daniels, right, lived from 1876 to 1960, all right? You also have the depopulation of the Indians from the Chippewa tribes, but they never show the earlier 16th, 17th, and 18th century documentary or documentation of maps, paintings, and explorers' historical accounts because it shows so-called Black Americans, Moors, Sagamores, who had their identity changed, and this entire landmass is owed to the indigenous people they still prosecute today, i.e. you and I. And they know this. So we go and look at an inquiry into the distinctive characteristics of the Aboriginal race of America. All right, this is by Samuel George Morton, MD. This is the Albion here to the right from the Boston Society of Natural History, April the 27th, 1842. All right, so he's in Boston, you know, and I'm pretty sure that he's dealing with those at Harvard. All right, and so this is what he says. It is my chiefly intention to produce a few of the most strikingly characteristic traits of these people to sustain the position that all the American nations, except for the Eskimo, are of one race, and that this race is peculiar and distinct from all others. All possess alike the long, lank black hair, the brown or cinnamon colored skin, hence copper colored, the heavy brow and the dull or sleepy eye, the full and compressed lips, and the silent but dilated nose. These traits, moreover, are equally common to the savage and the civilized nations, whether they inhabit the margin of rivers and feed on fish, or rove the forest and subsist on spoils of chase. It cannot be questioned that physical diversities do occur, equally singular and basically explicable as seen in the different shades of color, varying from a fair tint to a complexion almost black. Now, if that don't fit all of us and our families right now, I don't know what does. And this too under circumstances in which climate has very little or no influence. So for those that are fair skinned, or hence as we call them, high yellow, all right? And then also for those that are near black, it says a complexion almost black. Now he's talking about the Aboriginal races of America, or the Aboriginal race as he called it, because he said all of the so-called people here was of one race. All right? And he says that they from high yellow, fair tint, to complexion almost black. All right? Now this is what he says. And this too under circumstances in which climate has little or no influence. So also in reference to statute, the differences are remarkable in entire tribes, which moreover are geographically proximate to each other. These facts, however, are more exceptions to a general rule and do not alter the peculiar physiognomy of the Indian. Now he calling us Indians now. For those who is almost black, he referred to them Indians. A complexion almost black, he refers to them as Indians, which is a undeviatingly characteristics as that of the Negro. Hold up, so he went from complexion almost black to Negro. Hold up, from complexion almost black to Indian to Negro. In the same damn paragraph. For whether we see him in the athletic Carib, as in the Caribbeans, or the stunt Chama, in the dark Californians, or the fair Boreal, all right? Puerto Rico, all right? Puerto Rico, oh! Here is an Indian, he said he is an Indian still. Now, we don't go per se by the term Indian, but if they're using it and they're applying it and they're saying it to us, then we utilize it because this is the language in which that was used when? During the 1800s. The early to mid 1800s, they used this language in reference to us, to those that are complexion almost black. So we're not black, we're almost black. But he does say that we have brown and cinnamon colored skin, hence copper colored, and that the Indians who are almost black were also the Negroes. And he said, and cannot be mistaken for a being of any other race. Now, you go and watch this movie. This is a movie. I'm here with Kevin Hart. All right. And in this movie, they're having a conversation. I can't remember the name of the movie right now, but y'all remember it, for those that can help remember the joint. But this guy here, this Albion here, makes a very startling comparison. He says, is the only indigenous art form I say, listen to a little Jay-Z, my friend. So he's saying rap music, hip hop is one of the only indigenous art forms. And he's saying that listen to a little Jay-Z, my friend. And then Kevin Hart says, I'm sorry, what? And to those who say jazz. So of course, hip hop, rap, R&B, rock and roll, jazz, gospel, bebop, wop, whatever you want to refer to it as, blues, all of these are indigenous art forms, indigenous music. But the fact that they said indigenous, showing you, why did he say these are African American art forms, as they try to say on one hand? But no, there is a Jewish entertainer, Pharrell, I believe that's his name. I can't remember his whole name right now. But anyway, but he's saying that's an indigenous American art form, and he's saying Jay-Z is indigenous American, the art form of jazz. American. That's amazing. Here we have on Family Guy, what's happening now? Raj, rerun, and hey. All right. And he's showing them with little afros with feathers in their hair / teepees, showing you that the so-called Indians are the Negroes, i.e., you and I, on Family Guy. So this is what Martin Luther King says. He says the Negro is the child of two cultures, Africa and America. The problem is that the search for wholeness, all too many Negroes seek to embrace only one side of their natures. In other words, you have Negroes who only want to see Africa. And now you have Negroes who only want to see America. All right? And they both are flawed in their analysis. All right? So, yes, we are African American in the sense that we all come from Africa. At least that's what Louis Leakey and Richard B. Leakey leaked out in the 1950s, that we come from Africa. All of us come from Africa. But like we said, always, that you don't see and hear Europeans saying that they're African European or they're African whites. You don't see Asians saying that they're African Asians. I'm African Chinese. But you see us now, since Jesse Jackson, since 1988, 1990, we now saying that we African American. Now that is moving towards a better direction as compared to Negro, Black, and colored. However, the problem is that Africa is a continent with 54 countries or nations. And then America actually is Americana, which are the adjoining islands or Caribbean. All right, Atlantis, along with North America, Central America, and South America. That's a lot of America. So we have to become more specific. But a hidden heritage, Black Indians, this is by William Lauren Ketz, all right? So-called Black Indians. Read the book. Read also When Rocks Cry Out by Horace Butler, all right? He said, I can find the Blacks who were in America when Columbus came here. She whispered as she leaned towards me for confidentiality. But you do understand that people do not like to talk about that, don't you? The secret histories unfold during my research or during my search for an early group of people in North America known as the Kali, a public television PBS documentary. The history of the American West mentioned that the early Spanish explorers found the people called Kali living in the western reaches of North America continent. The documentary made no other mention of the Kali after revealing these early Americans to be Black. All right, now if they follow Kali, then it means that it had to be the Indo-Kushites, the Kushites from out of India, the Tamil people who actually ran from prostitution, probably from the Albions came from out of the Caucasus Mountains. Or when they began to form their caste system. All right? Us. Any questions? Okay, hopefully not. Olmec ball player. Any questions? I don't know. Might still be some. Anyway, Amanda Smith. This is a quote from her. There is a place in the United States for the Negro. They are real American citizens and at home. They have fought, bled, and died like men to make this country what it is. And if they have got to suffer and die to be lynched, tortured, and burned at the stake, I say they are at home. This is what Amanda Smith says, and she's right. So we find that no wonder there are no slave ships. And of course, we have replica slave ships. You know, at least two. All right. Indian captives were shackled, marched to the Carolinas, and sold as slaves. We are reminded daily of the 5% of the transatlantic slave trade. All right, 5% of the transatlantic slave trade Africans. All right, some give it 5%, some say 8% to 15%. The emperor said at least 15% might have came from Africa 400 years ago. So we know that between 15 to 5% of the transatlantic slave trade, the Africans did come here and they mixed in, but that would not become the majority. That would not make us African American. That would make us American African. Overstand? So the transatlantic slave trade, the Africans and stun and criticize if we identify ourselves with the 85% of the pre-Columbian indigenous American Negro Indian population whom the Europeans enslaved so that they could steal the land and identify an identity of our true ancestors, right? So they can steal the land. I can understand now why we are encouraged to identify ourselves as Africans. Primarily, you need a nation to receive reparations, repair nation. As Africans in America, we lost our birthright and indigenous heritage. This is institutional racism. All right, and we can look here. It says the Indians of Mississippi. Now we know the Biloxi Indians are those who, right now in Washington proper, in Mississippi, in Louisiana, all right, in Alabama, but in particular in the Mississippi, near the Mississippis. And it says right here that Indian captives who were shackled and marched to Carolina and sold as slaves on the plantations. So we know that some of this trade happened in-house. All right. The trade in which that we're talking about is from the Caribbean, South America, into North America. and vice versa. All right, that was the main trade. All right. And this is one of the reasons why we won't see reparations. The first slaves held in the United States were not black per se. All right. Black in the sense of what the real word black means, which is pale, they were. There was Europeans, mostly British or Irish, who died like flies on slave ships across. On one voyage, 1,100 perished out of 1,500. At another time, 50 out of 400. In Virginia, white servitude, right, were for a limited period, but was sometimes extended for life. All right. In the West Indies, particularly in the case of the Irish, it was for life. White people were sold in the United States up to the year 1826, 50 years after signing the Declaration of Independence. Andrew Johnson, the president of the United States, who ran away and was advertised. Right. So check this out now. Andrew Johnson, all right, the president of the United States, was a runaway and was advertised for in the newspaper. All right. In other words, he was one of these Irish slaves. All right. So you see that the whole thing has been mixed up. Bartholomew de la Casa, Destruction of the Indies. Get that book. Right? Destruction of the Indies is the story of the Spanish Dominican priest, Bartholomew de la Casa, who came to the Americas in the 16th century. Immediately, he was struck by an inhumane way in which that the native people was treated by the European explorers and conquerors. La Casa went on to be a leading opponent of slavery, torture, and genocide of Native Americans by the Spanish colonialists. Bartholomew de la Casa, Destruction of the Indies, is his personal account with chapters covering Cuba, Nicaragua, Hispaniola, Guatemala, Venezuela, Florida, and many other areas conquered by the Spaniards. Bartholomew de la Casa, 1484 to 1566, was a 16th century Spanish Dominican priest, writer, and the first resident bishop of Chiapas. All right. D. Brown. Thank you, brother D. Thank you, brother D. Much appreciation for that. And as a settler in the New World, he witnessed and was driven to oppose like the Spanish colonialists and push the rights of the Native Americans, appealing to the imperial court of Charles V. His stance for, check this out now, his stance for African slaves' rights was later than for one, right, check this out, his stance for African slaves' rights was later than the one for native slavery. So there was a difference. There was native slavery, and there was African slavery, and there was Albion slavery. No one was out of slavery. Slavery existed for all of us. They was trying to make money. They don't look upon sex slaves as, oh yes, let's get us some Albion sex slaves. No, let's get us some Mexican sex slaves. No, let's get us some African sex slaves. To them, sex is sex. If they have sex with animals, then they don't care about the color. All right, it's a hole to them. And they don't care which hole it goes in, as long as they're being sexually gratified. Right? And it's the same way that they were about slaves. As long as you can work, get your hands dirty, do what they didn't have to do, it didn't matter the color or the complexion. All right? Moorish American. What kind of American do we live in South America? The Spanish, the Portuguese, who chiefly the descendants of the European race who had intermarried with the Indians. Other nations have made lesser contributions. Brazil, which is only 2 days by steamer from West Africa, is 1/3 Negro, the crudest types of Negroes of the American hemisphere. There is a small mark of the Moor upon the Spaniards. All right? The Arabic Moors wove his customs very deeply into the lives of Spain. The people of Mexico and Cuba might be called Moorish Americans rather than Latin Americans. Hoo, hoo, hoo. the custom manners and heart experiences in these people of Latin America are more Moorish than Christian, more Muslim, more Arabic than Spanish. This is Homer C. Skins in World Outlook, all right, for February, Tuesday, January 25th, actually from February, but also January 25th, 1916, page 6, near Nebraska, all right? So this is just 3 years after Prophet Noble Drew Ali formed, and they were saying that Moorish Americans, that the so-called Latin Americans, are more so Moorish American. The Arabic Moors, their customs were deeply woven into the life of Spain. The Moors upon the Spaniards was a strong mark, as we already know, as they was in Spain and throughout Europe for how many years? 800 years, 711 to 1492. All right. So Moorish American. This is just what they're saying. Now we know that allegedly the Moors was way over in Spain, but remember, it just been saying that the Moorish mark was left upon Spain, and then the Spaniards came here to the Americas and intermarried with the indigenous Aborigines, Moors / so-called Indians here. Hence, they should be called Moorish American. Because not only was there Moors there in the West, in the East, there was Moors here in the West. All right, same family. These are sisters from out of Mexico, out of the area near Guerrero. All right, near Guerrero. Right, this is a painting of Mexico, 1915. All right. Well, I should say this is the time when Raul Algorano, he lived from 1915 to 2006. And this is called Indigenous Mexicans. And look at the Indigenous Mexicans. They got locks, braids, as you see here, and very dark skin. And this painting was done in 1933. So if they have afros in Mexico, as you see here, all right? Professor Constantine Rafink, he wrote a book called The Primitive Black Nations of America, 1832. So this here is 10 years earlier than the quote that we just made earlier from Samuel George Morton, MD, which was April the 27th, 1842, when he spoke on the distinct characteristics of the Aboriginal races of America. So he wasn't the only one talking about the Aboriginal races of America and being so-called Black, but so was Professor Constantine Rafink. And he called it The Primitive Black Nations of America, 1832. The description of indigenous Negroes known to Rafink. He says, too many, this fact of old Black nation in America will be new, as it is to most people who listen to this podcast, radio show. It's new. This is new information. Yet it is an important feature of American history. I will here merely enumerate the Black tribes of which I found evidence traces and remains in North and South America. The Auroras or the Cororas of Camana were Black. but with fine features and long hair, like the Jollof and the Gala of Africa. The Esquirrel, latitude 32, or like the Hottentots. In other words, they got them big booties. And the Numaquet and the Tabukis and many other Negritian tribes, not black, but dark brown, yet complete Negroes with large, thick lips, broad, flat nose, and very ugly. That's what he called it. We don't expect for his pale ass to be attracted to us, right? That was too much ass for him to handle anyway, because he said they looked like the Hottentots. The sisters was like the Hottentots. That was too much ass for him. Yet complete Negroes with large, thick lips, broad, flat noses, and very ugly, with hair crisp or curly. Curly like this. These sisters are from Mexico, from the Guerrero area of Mexico, which has a very high population of so-called indigenous aborigines. He said, had hair crisp and curly. All these tribes live in New California now. Now we know that New California, or California, which at that time was called New California, the Mexicans lived all up in there. The Mexicans lived all the way in California, all the way in Arizona, all the way in Nevada, New Mexico, so forth and so on. So they was already in this territory, and so the whole thing about the Alamo or the Alamos was to keep them from coming in and keep them out, these Moorish Americans. This is why Prophet Noble Ali said our Mexican brothers and sisters were Moors. They was Moorish American. And so you would see cards in Spanish back in the 1920s, in which that was held by our Mexican brothers and sisters, who are part of the Olmec. The Olmec, as a matter of fact, the word Mexican is from Olmec. Mec become Mexican. It becomes the word mix, because the Olmecs, who was so-called black, mixed in with the Spaniards, who already was marked with Moorish blood to begin with, and those who of the Asian Orientals who was coming into the Americas. That mix created what we now refer to as the Mexicans, right? But they still Moorish American. Because remember, North America, Central America, South America, and the adjoining islands, Americana is America. The American Negroes of Cariniqua in Carco, the great level plain, 900 miles long, 90 miles wide, separated the Andes and the South American from the mountains of Panama, were black. And the woolly heads in 1506, they were mentioned by Danglaria and all the early accurate writers. Here it is, the Yamasi or Jamasi were remarkably black people. So we know that from the notice of the Florida and the campaigns. So from Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, into the campaigns, the Yamasi existed. These were black people on the eastern seaboard. The ancient coal of Haiti, represented a nation of beasts. This is what he referred to them as beasts by the historical songs. Whose historical songs? the Albion's historical songs. So he's saying that the indigenous people of Haiti were Black, which we know that they are predominantly so-called Black now. Moors, Maroon, Arawak. That's their heritage, is Arawak. The ancient, all right, people of Haiti, Arawak. And these Arawak people go down into Puerto Rico, become the Arawak Taino with the Spaniard invasion there, to become the Taino, which become the Puerto Ricans. Misnomer. Puerto Rico is a misnomer. Port Riches, you can't be named a people after a port. All right, where boats pull up to the dock and drop their anchor, mowing their ship. You can't be called that. Now you can be called Moors because you mowed your ship. Your soul is fast by your cord, your etheric cord to your body. You've moored your ship, your vessel, your physical body. Right? This is what this is all symbolic to. But the Californian of the Carib Islands, called Black Caribs or the Guiani by others, they was white, so-called Black Carib. And they was what's called the Californians. Or the Californians. You have the Okoro of Hutara, mentioned by Garcia in the West Indies. He said they're quite Black. The Auroras of Raleigh, or Auroras of the Spaniards, ugly Black or brown Negroes, yet existing near the Orinoco, and language known called monkey by their neighbors. See, he got to put the word ugly in there, got to use the word monkey. Now, proven fact that so-called Black people are the only pure, 100% pure humans on the planet. African people are 100% pure human on the planet. Everyone else are hybrids. So see, he's taking jugs and punches and saying words like ugly and all these types of things when we are the indigenous aboriginal people with the bloodline the closest to the Anunnaki. Those who came from above to earth. The Syrians, right? Pure 100% human / extraterrestrial. All right, that's really what that means. All right, you have the Kayamas of Guyana, brown Negroes like Hottentots. You had the Menjapas of Horsiges of the Nayahof, and the Matayas of Kniv, of Kedvets, or all of Brazil, Black, right? He's saying that they, but he said they here brown Negroes with curly hair. So all of these people was in Brazil, obviously before the slave trade, right? This is before the slave trade. He's saying that these people was already in these areas. These indigenous people was already in these areas. These so-called Black, brown people was already in these areas. Otherwise, he would have called them Africans. But remember, his book is Description of Indigenous Negroes, the Primitive Black Nations of America. So he's not talking about the Africans. He's talking about the indigenous population who was Black, brown, and red Negroes who was already in these areas, in Brazil, in California, in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, in the Panama. Are y'all getting this? He goes on to say, he refers to them as yet existed in Cocoa under the name of the Guanas or Guyana or Chinko, or ugly, black, or red Negroes. This is what he's saying. This is what he's saying now. All right.
And Straight Panther super chat.
Straight Panther. All right, the Straight Panther. Now you're not going astray. You are the Black Panther. All right, appreciate you. Thank you for that. All right, so we got here the Mandabis of Papayan in Colombia, blackish with Negro features in hair. The Guabas and the Jaras of Tagugalapa, all right, near the Honduras. Now we know that Dr. Sebi came from Honduras. That means the people in that area had to have looked like him. The Inles or the Esteros of New California, ugly blackish Negroes, right? I ain't even letting the word ugly even offend us any longer. The Black Indians met by the Spaniards in Louisiana. Oh, we already know who that was. That's the Choctaw Washita in 1543. And you had the Moon Eye Negroes and albinos destroyed by the Cherokee, as seen in Panama. Right? And they wasn't all destroyed by the Cherokee. But this is what they write in their history. Get the book, The Ancient Cities of the New World by Desiree Charnay. Right? On the origin of, let me this right quick. He said it doesn't very clearly what should be the base of another concept of a copper color. In Africa and in Asia, they all found black, making them without beards in the very same latitude and would possess them. So, right, I'm making right. That was it. Yeah, thank you. I'm back on that statement. Queen said that I'm out somehow here, so
There you go.
all right, I'm back on. All right, so the movie with Kevin Hart and what's the white dude name, the pale dude name, Albion's name? Will Ferrell. That's it. I knew it was Ferrell something. All right, yeah. So Will Ferrell, as you see, he's saying that the music was indigenous, All right. All right, Johnny boy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much appreciation. Much appreciation. Right here is saying that the same species of a copper color to in which Africa is located and Asia is located, we find in America in the same latitude. And guess what? They found that they was what? So-called black. So that means on all three continents, they couldn't escape our asses. They thought they would find someone else, find someone who looks like them. And every time they went somewhere looking, they found nothing but our asses. On every continent they went to, Africa, Asia, America. All right. Honorable Elijah Muhammad even went further, said, shit, if you went to Mars, you'll find us there. You'll find us on the moon. You'll find us on Jupiter. It don't matter where you go, you won't find our asses. Right? So we'll populate the planets. All right. And there's always melanated people. It wasn't until 6,000 years ago that the so-called mad scientists came up with the idea of saying, yeah, let's extract the lower self and put that in human form, and let's see how much torment they can do in order to make the so-called copper/carbonated melanated beings have to excel to a higher level for they can reach their higher self and no longer want to act in their lower self. This became a test and became our test for this mad scientist called Yahweh or Jacob or Yaku, the supplanter, whatever name that you want to call. But this is what this is all talking about. So here, it says right here, it says, his hair is black, indicating a slight tendency to curl. His cheekbones are remarkably high and prominent, even for those of an Indian. They are not, however, angular, but present very distinctly the round appearance which distinguishes the Aboriginal American from the Asiatic. His mouth is large and upper lip prominent. This is something unpleasant in his look, onto his opening of one eye wider than the other, and to the scar which has left upon the wing of his nostril. All right, so this is what they are describing. All right, and he was a full-blooded Patawa Temi, right, or Powhatan, and it says his complexion is dark. His complexion is dark. All right, so we know that they keep talking about copper color, and of course we see that originally that only term in which that America defines were a Native America originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of the Europeans born in America. So they have taken that, the Aboriginal people of the Americas, all right, and have taken our name, which is Al-Maroka or Al-Murak or Amorican, or as you see here, Al-Moricans, Al-Murak, Morican, Moor, Mal, Moor. All right. Remember that America was never called India. So it was never named after Americo Vespucci either, because Americo Vespucci's name really was Alberto. Yeah, right. His name is Alberto Vespucius. And that America truly is the land of the West because it was named after Amaru, all right, who was an Inca, all right, Amaru, who was Inca, right? Turtle Island, this is the reason why they say and call North America Turtle Islands, because is in the shape, the whole North America is in the shape of a turtle. All right. That's why it was called the Great Turtle Island. Right. These are maps of tribal nation maps on our own names and locations for these areas. All right. And as you see, Cherokee is one of the largest tribes to exist still to this day. And in these areas, all right, get the book 500 Nations by Alvin Josephy Jr., an illustration history of North American Indians. Get the book of the Indians of North America, their manners, customs, and present state, edited by John Force. Get the books, Dictionary of Indian Tribes of the Americas, second edition, volume 1, by Abaco Kuna. Get the book, The North American Indian, by Edward S. Curtis. Now that joint is real tight. He really gets in because he show you the pictures of the native indigenous aboriginal people, the Moors. And this is 20 volumes. 20. All right. Right here we have Verrazano, as in the Verrazano Bridge, which we know that the Verrazano Bridge is located in New York. And this is something that he says very interesting here, that Verrazano wrote down in his diary. He says, the people whom they saw on their first landing and who were stated to have been for the most part naked, as described as being black in color, and not very different from Ethiopians, and of medium stature, well formed of body and acute of mind. The latter observation would imply that the voyagers had mixed with the natives very considerably in order to speak so positively in regard to their mental faculties, because oftentimes when they refer to the natives, they refer to them as dumb, naive, savages, barbarians. And even though the word barbarian is a code word for Moors, because it is taken from the word Berber or barbar, which is a Cushite word, which means the people, all right? But here it says the complexion for what of opportunity to discover. It says the precise place which the Ben first landed and saw these black people is not mentioned further than that the country which they lived was situated about 34 degrees of latitude. From this place, they proceeded further along the coast northwardly. And again, coming to anchor, attempt to go ashore in a boat without success, when one of them and young sailor attempted to swim to the land, but was thrown by the violence of the waves, insensible on the beach. Upon recovering to found himself surrounded by natives who were black like the others. So this is what I'm talking about, that everywhere they went, they kept finding us. There is no mistake in the design of the writer to represent the people are really black like Negroes. So we was black like Negroes, but we weren't Negroes. But yet we became called Negroes, blacks, and colors. And we became black, as they called us. Even though that was just complexion, because like Dr. John Henry Clark said, black may tell you how you look, but it doesn't tell you who you are. So, like Negroes is made evidence by the account of the complexion of those he found in the harbor of the Great Bay in latitude 4140, who of which they describe as essentially different, and the fine looking tribes they have seen being of the very white complexion, some incline more to white and others to a yellow color. Okay. Right. So there was some who was albino. All right. This is the white complexion that they talk about, a very white complexion. Those who was albino. Then you had those who was high yellow, all right? Yellow color as they call it. But all of them, back to red, brown, and black people were like the Negroes. In other words, was like the Africans. So hence, if you brought 5 to 15% of the African blood here 400 years ago as Europeans, why not mix them all together, steal the land, and say they all come from Africa? Why not? Makes sense to me. So if I'm a psychopath, sociopath, why not? Use it for justification. Hell, they would never know. Right? Verrazano goes on to say here, he says right here, landfall that is near the boundary between North Carolina and Virginia, where they discovered an old woman. All right. And then you come on up and it says, being of a complexion or color much like dark olive. You come down, thus the authorities flatly contradict the statement of black Indians existing in North Carolina and a difference of color between the people of the two sections claimed to have been visited in their voyage. So see, this is when the European have to try to justify and state that no, it couldn't have been the niggers. No, it couldn't have been that they are indigenous. They couldn't have been in North Carolina. No, they couldn't have been in Virginia. These niggers couldn't be there too. Damn, we just left them. Allegedly in Africa. And we notice with their names, look at the endings, Kwa, Kwa, or Kwa. Don't that make fun of us for having names like Shaquanda, Blair Kwa, or Moniqua? Indigenous Americans, Nebat Niaqua, Wasi Abe Nekwa, Neeb Nab Ekwa. See, these are names in which that, we got to understand, All right, this is the guide. If y'all don't know who the guide is right here, y'all can look him up. All right, he said, she, Urkansu, more of Arkansas. And you have here, with Shagarik Tari of Mexico, all right, and it says the macro matrilineal hypo or haplo group L2 relatives. So we're talking about the Moors of Arkansas and the Mexicans are relatives because they are all from Olmec heritage. Olmec heritage, all right? That's what we do know, Olmec heritage. All right, so right here it says all Indians have black hair. It was never blonde, rarely absent from the head and seldom gray. It says, moreover, the texture of Indian hair was very coarse. Very coarse. This is 1890, 1893. But I thought Indian hair was straight hair, like the one that they showed us way back here. I thought it was straight hair. Remember they had us believing this, that the Mongoloid playing the Indians, the straight haired ones. I thought they was the ones, but here in their information, they are telling you straight up that they had coarse hair. Coarse hair, like, here we go. Coarse hair. Right? There we go. Coarse hair. All right? This is what they're saying. Coarse hair. Here they go. All right, so we have to realize is that we've been told some lies. We've been told some lies. Right? My homeboy Quincy Hots, all right, he said we are not claiming to be descendants of our Indian distant cousins from up north that many derogatorily call Mongoloids. He said, I'm guilty for using this pseudo-scientific term. We claim to be descendants of ourselves, the bushy corn-head species. When we post pictures of the plain Indian Mongoloid, we are showing which ones shared our blood via mixed in. We're not saying we descended from them or their blood determines our heritage here. When folks don't carefully study what others are teaching, they miseducate themselves and others. And this is the truth, because this are the Narragansett Indian powwow. And when you go to a powwow, you will see these dark natives, Aborigines, Moors in the powwows. You can come here to North Carolina and I can take you next April to the Halawa Sapani tribe powwow. And you will see us in the powwow. Right? Sanjata, get the book, West African Epic of the Mandis Peoples. Mandis people, all right? As you see, the Mandis people wear fezzes with a tassel. I know it's supposed to be Turkish, but look as dark as they are. They're not wearing Turkish fez, they're wearing African fez. But anyway, let's keep going. 22 of the most colossal stone heads carved out of solid basalt rocks has identifiable Black Africans in racial features as well as cultural traits like the cornrow hairstyle, braids with beads and kinky hair, as well as the type of war helmets identified as Nubian, has been found carved in Colossus Olmec sculptures, West African and the Egypt, Sudan region. All right. Olmec is the compound of the word Old Mecca, Olmec, or Moors. The story goes that the Olmec nation disappeared after being invaded by the Spanish, which happened to be around the same time that Columbus was fighting the Indians and captured 8-foot warriors from the coast of Africa. All right. Of course, we know that coast of Africa that they talked about was the East Coast, which was here in America, which is actually at one time were part of Africa, which was known as Northwest Africa. You can put the pieces of the puzzle back together again if you were smart enough to do that, just like a jigsaw puzzle. So here we have African Indian hair. Let's look at this. This is from a Books, Letters, and Notes of Indigenous People of America by George Gatlin, 1841. What did he say? All primitive tribes known in America are dark copper colored with jet black hair, while most possess curls in the extreme and every level of wavy hair in between. The texture of the hair is generally fine, soft, or silk, or coarse, or harsh. The hair of the men falls down to the hams, to their buttocks, and sometimes to the ground, and divided into plaits and slabs 2 inches wide and filled with profusion of glue and earth, which becomes very hard and remains unchanged for years to years. In other words, locks. Today, we call this form of hair is called locks. Here it is. We keep finding it. All right. So we know that based on what we read from Europeans, that no so-called North or Native American tribe looked per se the same, but they did have the similar features as he did go over. So you had wavy to straight hair, Crow from Montana. You had the Afro nappy extreme curl, Aztec, Mexico. And you had the swarthy curly hair, Pamunkey, Virginia. All right. Copper colored people. So you have the Sesquiwa, Hannock, made combs or Not just combs, but picks. These are actually Afro picks. The same type of Afro picks that we made during the 60s and 70s for the Afros. So right here, check this out. Right, you had the Cherokee, which is no. Now hold up. Now oh, wow. Why is the Iroquois, the Chickasaw, who are the Cherokee, which is also called the Hasdenas Sauni, had the antler hair pick? Why? Why did they have that? And they didn't have an afro. And look how tight and look how spaced it is. Got the space in between. This is in Monroe County, New York, the Great Lake region. The oldest known wooden comb or pick discovered in 3,000-year-old wet site on the Hockoe River in Washington State. Washington State. Had 13 intricately carved wood teeth twined together at one end. All right. Also found at the Hockoe wet site at the western end of the Strait of Juan de Fuca was a beautifully sculptured wooden mat creaser with two beak-to-beak belted kingfishers forming the handle. Susan print the Salish implement. It says the sculpture series 1 shows another water animal, a duck to the handle hole, cut through its wings. The beak-to-beak kingfishers of the ancient creatures was of opposite genders, one with belt ruffles on his neck, female, and the other without, male. Not only is the Hockoe wet site mat creases one of the oldest wooden sculptured art pieces ever found being made and used at the time of King Tut, Tutankhamun ruled Upper Egypt, but it was also painted with the eyes and the head tuft of the kingfishers painted in black. All right, this is the Crows, 1995, page 174, 76. Well, here it is. This is the oldest. This is it right here to the left bottom. As you see, they're digging it up, and this is in Washington State, Washita State. This looked very familiar to the same Afro pick that we was rocking in the late 60s, early 70s, mid to late 70s. Afro, a thick hairstyle with very tight curls that stick out all around the head like the natural hair on some Black people. All right, Afro-American, Aboriginal, copper-colored races found in Americas by Europeans who wear their hair in tight curls all around their head. That's the definition. It has nothing to do with West Africa or being African per se. Because the indigenous people was already here before the 400-year-ago arrival of the 5 to 15% of our genetic line from Africa. Recent, that is. Because we have older lines that was here, indigenous. The Olmecs were here 5,000 years ago, over 5,000 years ago. The Ottomans was here over 50,000 years ago. The Fossils was here over 75,000 years ago. The Washita was here over 100,000 years ago. The Twa people was here over 2 million years ago. And remember, I told you, based on Forbidden Archaeology, The Hidden History of the Human Race by Michael Cremo and Richard L. Thompson, these two books states that there was humanoids here 600 million years ago in North America. So we've been here a long time from out of Africa. We had a lineage a long time from out of Africa before 400 years ago. And this is what we have to realize. I know it's hard for some of y'all to believe this shit. I know, I'm sorry. I know how it is. But we got to break the chain. But here, we had hair comb picks in the left picks. They was used by the Shinnecock, Hanak, American Indians. These combs was found in New York, Pennsylvania, and Maryland by Europeans when they came to these American shores in the 1600s. Question now, who is really those Indians? Now analyze the pick on the left, right,
and think about it, go ahead. I'll wait. We'll wait. Because they said these are the cones Europeans saw the Native Americans using. Well, we know that they had to have bushy hair, as we just finished reading about. Wavy straight, afro, nappy, extremely curly, swarthy, curly. You know that Europeans don't wear straight hair. I mean, Europeans don't use picks, afro picks for their straight hair. Neither would the so-called Mongolian or Mongoloid use afro picks. She would. He would. As you see, he got his. Yes, that's a she, but this is not a she. As you see, he has his pick in his hand. He has his afro pick in his hand with his afro. Looking like Jimi Hendrix, brother from the Indian Braves and the indigenous people. This is Jimi Hendrix's mother and father, who was also Chippewa, from the Chippewa and Cherokee tribes. And here you have the sister right there in the back with that kinky hair, in which that this was a painting that was painted now. All right, this is depopulation of the Indians from the Chippewa tribe to the president of Upper Canada, Sir Frederick P.H. Robinson. All right, KCB, Major General, etc., in 1815 by Rudolph Stagger. All right, and look back. Look at the sister with the afro in the back there. The Chippewa would have needed the afro pick, right? The Karankawa had huge heads covered with coarse, bushy hair. Dances were wild and noisy. This is from Warren Betsy, all right? Illustrated, Let's Remember Indians of Texas, Dallas, Texas. So the indigenous people of Dallas, Texas have bushy hair, coarse, bushy hair. All right. And remember now, I'm sorry, but there's only one group of people on the planet Earth that have coarse, bushy hair. Only one people on the planet that has bushy hair. Sorry. Only one people that has hair like lamb's wool. Only one people. All right. You can deny it all you want, but you can't bypass that fact. Indians across North America smeared bear grease or bear fat and other oils on their hair to make it shine and also to make it straight, just like we did when we wanted them waves. Negroes put the Dex and the Murray grease in their hair and got the waves put on that skull cap or that stocking cap or the do-rag and had them waves and made niggas seasick. I did it. You can't front. They was using bear grease. That's what made the shit shiny. That's what made it straight, or appear to be somewhat straight. Dark skinned, so-called Native Americans, the Indians. All right, similar substances for smoothing and shining the hair was raccoon fat, deer marrow, and material found inside bones. Both men and women from the Delaware, Huron, and the Sauk tribes of the Northeast smooth bear grease onto their hair daily, just like we did when we was getting them waves, sporting them waves. We used that Dax and that Murray grease. Whoo, that shit was fat. Them waves made everybody go seasick. The plain Indians also shine their heads with bear grease and use other oils soaked with herbs to perfume their hair. The Crow Indians of the plains took special pride in their long hair. They used bear grease or buffalo grease, dung to straighten curls they made with a heating stick. Uh-oh. Sound like Madam C.J. Walker wasn't the first one with the goddamn straight comb, the heating comb. The Crow Indians were already using heated sticks, and they also applied cactus pulp to make their hair shine. There it is, that Dex. Woo-hoo, that Murray Grace, yo, son. That's all I can use. I couldn't use nothing else to make these waves like this. Can use it. Crow Indians of the plains took special pride in their long hair. Look at here it is. That heated stick. There it is. You remember that? Sister, remember that? But look at it. Look at the crow's hair. See they dark skin like you and I, but the hair is straight. And this is where they get the concept from that Indians had this straight. No. They use buffalo grease and bear grease to get that shit. The complexion of these people is black, not much different from those of Ethiopians. Their hair is black and thick and not very long. It was worn tight back with a to the head to form a little tail. But this is Giovanni's Di Verrazzano description of the people along the east coast of America in the 1500s. This is the same thing that you see now. That's Snoop Doggy Dogg. Old dude from you get that money, man. No, from the group. Huh? Yeah, Doug's Bone and Harmony. There you go. Exactly. So right there, the general appearance of the North American Indians has been given in few words. The resemblance those of different tribes, with the exception of those that have reference being found as close as between different nations are close, either of the great families in which that the human race has been arbitrarily divided. See, we've arbitrarily divided the families. But come down, the most distinguished particularities of the race are those of the reddish or copper color of the skin, the prominence of the cheekbones, and the color and quality of the hair. This is not absolute straight. Check this out. Now he said this is not absolutely straight. So the hair's not absolutely straight, but it's somewhat wavy. Why? Why? Busy Bone of Money Mike. Exactly. Busy Bone. All right, there we go. Exactly. Exactly. Jim Brown. Exactly. All of them. Exactly. So this is what they was right. They use the straighten comb, as they was called, the heating stick. All of this is what we was doing this hundreds of years ago, y'all. This ain't nothing new. Madam C.J. Walker took that shit that she seen that was used by the Crows, and she damn flipped that shit in the so-called black community and became a millionaires. Already using it. It was already in her DNA to use it. Some people get mad at her when she brought about the damn straightening comb. But it was not absolutely straight, but somewhat wavy, and has not inaptly been compared to the mane of the horse. Uh-oh, reason why now, sisters, shit, as they say, use horsehair. All right, for them weaves. It's unbelievable. All right, here's another example of this not straight, but curly or wavy texture. There it is again. Peace and blessings to this God, because he passed physical form some years ago here. But here, ancient Negroes artifacts from Burrow Cave in Illinois, USA, from the collection of the Empress of the Washita. The Empress have these particular collection from the Burroughs Caves in Illinois, and as you see, it is of us that was in these caves. All right, at least what was found in which that was put in the caves. And as you see the boat right here. We brought ourselves over here. You see the boat right here that they shown in depicting. and the hieroglyphics right above it, and you see us with the coarse hair, all right? Here is a pic of the Olmecs, all right? Afro with the widow's peak, nowhere around it. 5,000 years ago was right here, all right? 5,000 years ago. Here is another Olmec head in which they was analyzing, in which that dated back, but this one has plaits or locks, braids. Here's another one, Olmec Mayan. This one is sitting in a meditation posture, but has locks. Another one, ancient Panamanian king from the Hidden Book. As you see here, melanated, love rocking that gold, but also had locks. All right? Unlike the other Indian tribes of the West, the Mandan, instead of presenting a perfectly uniformity in complexion and in the color of the eyes and hair, exhibit a great diversity in these respects, as will be noticed in the mixed population of Europeans. The hair was for the most part very fine and soft, but in a number of instances, a strange anomaly was observable, both in old and young, and in either sex, a profusion of coarse locks of a bright silvery gray, approaching sometimes to white. That's talking about the hair, not the complexion. So we show you that right here. This is what they're talking about. Let's get it right. That's what I'm talking about. We clean up all misconceptions. Why they never show you the back of the Olmec's heads? Because some of them have cornrow braids. This is why. Back of the Olmec's heads. Here it is. This is how you know that it's you. No doubt about it. We still rocking the braids today. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Mother of civilization of the Americas. This is what the Albion or the Mexican told us, actually, the Castile Mexican told us when we went to Mexico in 2007. My wife asked him the question about the Olmecs. He said, well, they're the mother of civilization, but we don't know too much about them. Next question. That was how quickly he got past that shit. But 4 years later, when we went back, they had to tell the damn truth. Well, actually 5 years, because it was 2007. 6 years, actually, because it was in 2013. March of 2013, we went back to Mexico. So 6 years later, we went back on a cruise. We went to Tulum, all right, to the pyramid sites. When we first went, we went to Chichén Itzá, Tulum, Cobol, all right. So the first branch of the Olmec was the Washita, the Kushi or Kushite people from Ethiopia and Nubia was Washita as well, which is why they both have she in their names, because they are the Shi or Ish or Shi people from the Imperial Xian dynasty, which is the same dynasty in China, all right, in which that form the pyramids there in the Chinese province of Xi'an. And anytime you see the word she or she in a word, it is from the origin of the Olmec people. In the Chinese culture, you have the word like Shidoshi or teacher, Mitsubishi, Xi'an, and so on, which came by way of the Olmecs. The Mayans used the term like Ishbaba, or Ishbolaba, Ishi, or she, the sun deity, and so on, which again came by way of the Olmecs, and the word she or she has to do with honor, respect, divine woman, and those who are feared. Right? This is where we get Xi'an, which is actually from the word Shang. Shang as in Shango. Right? Shang was the first dynasty of China, the Shang dynasty, which comes from Shango. We find out that the word Chinese or China itself is a Yoruba. All right? Is a Nigerian Word, which means protect. Chinese mean protected. So we know that they, all right, that the Yoruba people had a deity by the name of Shango. And so the Shang dynasty was those who came from out of Africa and they worshiped Shango. They were the followers of Shango. Okay? John Baptiste Leonardo de Reno, A Voyage to Senegal, Atlas of the Region, page, all right? This was in 1802. The page, I can't see the page too well. I think it's 85. But this is what he says. He says, I shall add another reflection of public utility. The black of a kind of, check this out, the blacks are a kind of men destined by nature to inhabit Africa and America. She has created for them burning regions. Let us therefore take care not to oppose her views and overthrow the barriers which she has established, but let us preserve their races in their natural prosperity and not permit the Negroes to inhabit Europe. This mixture of black and white is dangerous to our population, and in time it will can change, corrupt, and even destroy it. Well, sorry to say, they wouldn't survive nature without the mixing in anyway, because the sun does not like pale skin, and which will cause carcinoma and melanoma, and is making the European infertile, the Albion infertile, even here in America, in over 26 states, where now their death rate is higher than their birth rate. So they're not repopulating in 26 states. And this is happening throughout the world. So hence, this is why they came out with trying to depopulate the darker skinned people off the face of the planet, preferably by war, famine, drugs, attack on these by diseases, such as so-called AIDS, which is a manufactured term of more than 20 different diseases. All right. And I won't get into everything, but we know that the disappearing act of or the end of the so-called pale race. Hell, this is a new article, but we even knew about this back in 1994. All right. Even in New York Times news service in 1994, it was April the 16th, 1994. It says in a few years, there will only be one person of working age in this country for every 2 retirees. In 1994, Italy became the first country in the world who, with more over the age of 65-year-old people than young people under the age of 15. All right. And so this article goes on to say that the ISTAT research organization said earlier this year that the number of Italians, currently 57 million, actually sunk by 5,265 in 1993, with the average birth as statistical at 1.21%, lower in the lowest in the world. So Italy's fertility is much less, though required for replacement of the dead, said Joseph Greenlad of the United Nations Population Division. Now, this is something in which that they was talking about in 1994. Matter of fact, my teacher, Dr. Knuckles, in 1989, told my people, the people at our college, Fairfield State University, and our people in our class, and there was Europeans in the class, and he said by 2025 to 2045, there would be no Europeans on the planet. And he said that in regard to the fact of their birth rate and that they was not repopulating. And this was back in 1989. So this is something in which that they've been knowing. So hence we find later on, years later, the chemtrails, which became known as the vaccination. But what we really do know is that we're talking about the Pentagon germ man, all right? The analysis of ethnic biological warfare. That's really what we're talking about here. And by knowing the weaknesses of the so-called races, you can manufacture biological weapons in order to produce genocides and kill people off. All right, this is what we're talking about, ethnic weapons. And you don't believe me, you can get the book by Carl A. Lawson. All right, also the United States Army Journal. All right, published an article entitled "Ethnic Weapons." All right, and this was in this shit. It was in November 1970. All right, and this is Carl A. Lawson, head of the Department of Genetics at the University of Law, Sweden. So this is what they've been doing. All right, but it's in the DNA. So you have an Olmec statue here with the Mohawk, and you also have the native indigenous tribe called the Mohawk. You have Mr. T here. You even have puffy cones, and even now to this day, you have little boys running around with the Mohawk, and some girls with the Mohawk. All right, you had the Monacan Indians from Virginia with the serious locks, which look just like the Mayans. Yes, the Mayans, who was the descendants of the Olmecs, had locks. The nappy-headed classical Mayan historians do not want you to talk about. Ish, right? Or she Mayan woman, the Olmec woman, right? Here's a Olmec Mayan. Look at the hair, locks. Look at the drawing here, drawing of the so-called natives, locks. Hanging down to the hams, see? This is what they talking about. Remember we read where the locks hangs down to the hams. All right? This is why the profusion, what'd you say? That's why they wear weave to want long hair. But right here, it says, one distinguishing particularity of the Indians is that the extraordinary length of their hair, which is cherished and cultivated as an ornament until it sweeps the ground after them. See? Here it is. Look at the sister's locks. Almost touching the ground. The brothers is to his hams, as they showed you within the paintings and talk about. Right? This profusion is to be seen in no tribe except the Crows. Although some of their neighbors endeavors to imitate it by gluing an additional length to their natural hair. Oh, so you see, the wave shit, unbelievable. We've been doing this, the unbelievable thing for a long time. We've been doing it a long time. This is vintage Olmec Mayan warrior art pottery. And look at the sister. Well, look at the brother here. Look at the sister. Same type of wrap around the head with the locks sticking out at the end. Nothing has changed. Everything still remains the same. All right, baby Jack, Cree Indian. Once again, got them locks. All right, we showed you the hair. All right, here it is. All primitive tribes known in America are dark copper colored with jet black hair. Many possess curls with extreme, every level wavy hair in between. The texture of the hair is generally fine, soft, and silk, coarse or harsh. The hair of the men falls down to their hams. There it is, falls down to their hams. Sometimes to the ground and divided into plats, slabs, 2 inches wide, filled with profusion of glue and earth, becomes very hard and remains unchanged from year to year. Chief Gal, Hunk Papa, Sioux, Lakota, 1878. Native American chief, pound maker, Cree, before 1886. He got the locks too, as you see here. Oh, this is Sister Erica Coleman, Rappahannock
Rabahan Hanak. All right, African American they call her, but assistant professor at the University of Delaware, Black Studies. This is what we used to wear. As you see, she's wearing a native traditional wear. This is what we use to make. This is out of leather, beads, precious stones, feathers. And these beads be so small and it's so intricate. All right. We seen the Junkie natives of the Caribbeans in the Bahamas. They do the exact same thing as the Biloxi Moors or the Biloxi Washita, Choctaw from out of Louisiana when they make their outfits annually. All right. Same traditions, same styles, using leather, using beads, precious gemstones, metals, etc. The turban was a style of headdress favored by many of the Southeast Indian tribes who was located in the state of Florida, Texas, Louisiana. This is why we wore the turban, y'all. Not because we seen, all right, just because, you know, some say, well, we seen the, I don't know how you think the Turks got their feathers all the way over here. You know, this is what you would believe listening to some of these non-studied idiots that keep talking this nonsense. But I'm getting ready to show you some shit that you didn't know. So here we have that the turban was a style of dress that we wore here, Southeast, in the South, all right? Tunchi, all right? So yeah, I know you're thinking of Tunchi as Lil Wayne and shit, but nah, this is the real Tunchi right here, 1790, 1843, a Cherokee war chief. And the Nuia, Telagi, Selagi, war chief. All right?
Yeah.
And so this is Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, god damn it. We wore the turban. The turban didn't wear us. The Seminole Fez. This is picture below. It was worn in Florida, Alabama, and Georgia by the very dark nations of the people. We had the feathers in the Fez cap. Here it is. Seminoles wore a fez. Seminoles of the native Aborigines also wore turbans. Much of the history that we was taught is erroneous. We must re-educate ourselves, knowing that the people who were responsible for 500 years old oppression will probably not give you a good knowledge of your own history. So I got to come and do it. We got to put the pieces of the puzzle together because you've been miseducated. You've been run amok, led astray, hoodwink, as Malcolm said. The Osage chief wearing his fez. All right, and we only saying the word fez because this is where and what you've been used to it being called. We can say hat or bush. Native Americans practice some form of ancient craft as evidenced by the extensive pyramid building in the Americas. The fezes, turbans, and aprons were worn. Matter of fact, they said that more than 80% of the indigenous Masonic orders that was among the Native Americans was identical to the Europeans. All right. Here's a sister and a new wheel. All right. All right. Shanila means pretty flower. She was here. And the Wiyu, pretty flower. Historically, she was Iroquois and Wabanaki beadwork. This is what you see on her. Awiyu, which means pretty flower, aka golden. This is the name now. She became Goldie
Jamison Corkland, a Seneca woman from the Allegheny Reservation. This is a sister, if you can't see that. Another sister in indigenous wear. Another sister in indigenous wear. See, I'm showing you those from the powwows, the real powwows, and how these sisters and brothers looked. They was like us. They look like our members of our families right now. No different. All right. Look at these beautiful garbs here. Beautiful. We got to get back to this. And notice, I don't know if you can see it, but on this one here, around the neck, actually has a figure of a native in which that is dark brown, black skinned, as you see there around the neck of this is the artwork in which that was done with the beaded work around it. All right. The moccasin boots and the moccasins, beautiful work. All right. Look at this. This is beautiful. These are the garbs that we wore and that you would see at powwows, which that you would see us in at these powwows. All right. Sometimes they would put their totems of the tribe onto their garb to distinguish the clan in which they come with, whether it was the Turtle Clan, Bear Clan, the Crow Clan, etc., etc. You have to know which animals are your totems and which that you can utilize on your clan garb. All right, we know you have nucleus family, you have the extended family, which is a clan. Then from that, you have your tribe. And then from the tribe, you have your nations. And then when various nations come together, they form an empire. All right, this is how this goes. Just showing you some of the wear so that you can come accustomed to understanding is that we was on of what we wore here in the Americas. All right. We know what we oftentimes we seen the movie Black Panther, so we seen what we've worn in Africa as part of our traditions. But now you need to see what you've worn here as the primary tradition. Okay. This is the key. The Sioux beaded buffalo hide moccasins, 1900s. It's from 1900. 1880s Southern Cheyenne high top women moccasins. It's from the 1880s. How that looks. The Central Plain beaded high top women's moccasins, Arapaho, right? The last quarter of the 19th century. The ancient natives, though different in language and customs, yet went all apparel after the same fashion. The men covered themselves with a shirt which came down to their knees, and over that a for some were war, some plain, some diverse color caps with 2, 3, or no feathers according to the custom of the place. So as you see here, we show a turban. As you see, we wore turbans and we wore cotton linen cloaks down to below our knees, and the women wore woolen cloak or coats, all right? And sometimes during the summertime, we went damn near butt naked. All right, we wasn't ashamed. This is actually from a map, and look at the head, as you see here to the left, what looks like the Liberty cap. This is where the Liberty cap comes from. This also to the right looks like the same type of cap in which that they used to show you on Jughead on the little cartoon back in the days. I can't remember the name of it right now, but they showed you that little hat. They always showed the European Albion wearing it, but look at this. This is actually from the 1600s. This map, all right? So this map is showing you, and this is where the signs of the Liberty cap come from. Actually, it comes from the psilocybin plant, or better yet, the mushroom. All right, this is where it comes from. All right, that's where that comes from. That Liberty, the same Liberty cap that they show you on many of the state seals. That's the Liberty cap, and it's red. Oftentimes it is red. All right, this is why we rock that red fez. You know what I'm saying? Symbolic to that. Here you also have the bonnets, which is basically what they call a kufi or skull cap, but the bonnet is talked about in Exodus 28:40. This is why you see some of the Hebrew Israelites wearing the bonnet or the kufi, as well as Muslims wearing the kufi right here, but that is Aboriginal. All right, that's Aboriginal. You also see us wearing the do-rag. The do-rag isn't nothing new. They sell it in the store for $1 now, and every 10 years or so, we go back to the do-rags. All right? Every 10 years, you see a resurgence of the do-rag over and over again. Every 10 years, it lasts for about 3-4 years, and then it dies out for about another 7 years or so. Then it comes back and make a full reoccurrence. Why? Because the Northeast Native Americans, one of the headdress was a do-rag. Right? Here we have the kufi once again, or skull cap, in which that was worn by the women also. Don't get it twisted. Men wore it, women wore it. Right? These are the fezzes, right? Or what we call fezzes and kufis, like many Moors and Aboriginals and indigenous people in North America too now. All right, we wore this, right? So they was called basket hats. This is what the kufis were called, basket hats. It was crafted by and worn by American women and men during the 1800s. Originally, they was made with natural dry grass, straw, and they adorned with hand-painted designs, right? Here you have the beads on the tassels. That survived tradition that was brought forth through the cellular memory of the Aboriginals of America, all right? And you have right now, they show you these particular fezzes, the same beads that was on the fezzes that are what we call the grass basket hats, all right? 1800s, here's the Empress grandmother, Delphi Kim Wachita. She lived to be 117 years old, hence the return of the ancient ones. She wore the same type of grass hat, which is in the same shape as that of a fez. And as you've seen, the tassel was made of beads, but there was a tassel, just like the beads in which that oftentimes is worn on the hair of our sisters as they're coming up. Just like you seen back in the days when you seen Venus and her sister wearing them beads in their hair. I got old pictures of my wife wearing the beads in her hair. The little girls wear beads in their hair. This is something ancient. Here it is. This is how the fez looked. And as you see, we also had the cowrie shell on it. These grass basket hats that we now call fezzes. Men and women wore these. There was no distinction. They weren't just all red. They weren't just all maroon. They were not just all black, all green, all orange, or whatever colors in which that you might have. These here was multiple colors. And we got to get back to these fezzes. Women can wear fezzes as I just finished showing you. Right here. That's plain as day. It's part of the Native American headdress. The plain, the Blackfoot, Crow, Pawnee, the Caribbeans, the Arawak, Taino, Carib, the Northwest, Nice Pierce. Denise Pierce, all right, in particular, wore these particular grass basket hats. Washita wore these grass hats. Here is a Pendleton Indian robe, as it is called, pure fleece wool. And she has on her grass basket hat, 1909, Chicknock. Child near the now flooded Chilito Falls, Columbian River, Wishram Village. Look at the little girl, little sister here. She wearing her grass basket hat. All right, here go another sister. They call her Susan, but her name is Kalops Umatilla. All right. And what does she got on? She got on her native dress with that grass basket hat. Oh, Miss Thompson. She's Niece Pierce, 1913. What she got on? Her native dress, and she's at the TP, and she got on her grass basket hat. Uh-oh, here go the Empress. As I told you, her grandmother, this is Washita. Choctaw. All right. Rocking that grass basket hat. Uh-oh. The Moors. Oh, the Olmecs. As you see here, there's a tassel hanging from the hat of the Moor. This is San Lorenzo. This is Jalapa Museum of Anthropology. And you see the same type of fez here. The Africans wearing that same type of fez without the tassel. But here you have the tassel hanging from this same type of hat in which that is being worn by the Olmec. So when they say that the fez did not have a tassel on it, then why am I looking at the Olmecs in which that this dates back 5,000 years ago? Of the Olmec, one of the 22 gigantic heads that was found in Tabasco, La Venta area of the Yucatan Peninsula near the Mexican Gulf. Why am I seeing a tassel hanging from his hat if we didn't wear the hat with the tassel? Stop the bullshit. This is the problem. People ain't doing the goddamn study. The image of the 4 Arikara scouts was taken at Fort Abraham. Bloody knife is featured in this image of the far right, wearing a shaved horn headdress with eagle feathers trailer, a symbol of his chieftainship in the peacekeeping society of the Arikara. All right. And you also see the one to the right is wearing the war bonnet. All right. But the war bonnet did not originate with the Plain Indians. It was copied from the Olmec Mayans. The Mayan war bonnet, as you see here, from off the walls. All right. So this is what was said by Captain John Smith, Jamestown, Virginia, colony 1608, 2 days after Powhatan, having disguised himself in the most fearful manner he could cause Captain Smith to be brought forth to a great house in the woods, and thereupon a mat by the fire till is left alone. Now, long after, from behind the mat that divided the house was made the most doubtfulest sound he ever heard. Then Powhatan, more like a black devil than a man, with some 200 more as black as himself. So the devil was black, goddamn it. Even in the dictionary, if you look up black, you will see the word devil. This is why we don't want to use the word black, because it relates back to the devil, at least to the Albion, because we terrorized his ass. This is where you get blackmail from. Because we terrorized them. Give us your goddamn money. There's a goddamn stack up. Give it here. All right? We terrorized them on the open seas. We was the pirates that he feared. He had to give us tribute to the damn sail the 7 so-called seas. Even though we know that over 32 of them, 32 seas, this damn main 7 that he did travel on, he had to pay us tribute. This is found in the book Ancient and Modern Britain by David McRitchie. Go and get the book. Right? So this is the end of tonight's class, and I showed you the science of what was really taking place here. All right. That was just a little bit to show you that we already was rocking our indigenous gear. All right. Prior to the Albion mass incarceration, if that's what you want to say, of the so-called indigenous Aborigine Moors, so-called black people. At least in his so-called pale white supremacist mindset. And the only reason why we say supremacist is because he have a supremacy or superiority, a supremacist or superiority complex. Superiority complex. He has a superiority complex. The Albion does. He thinks that this is the master and slave relationship here, as if we're supposed to remain the slaves. You out your goddamn minds. And only a fucking psychopath and sociopath would think like that, as if you would have to make another group of people your goddamn consumers and slave base for eternity. That shit ain't happening. Nature is showing you that that's not happening. We showing you by the resurrection of this knowledge that that shit ain't happening. It ain't happening. Them days are over. The nail is in the coffin. All right. So we want to thank everybody that got a chance to tune in tonight. We love everybody. We appreciate y'all sticking with us as we got through this presentation. Love you too, God. Appreciate you. And we're going to head out. We want to say before we go, as always, this is our motto, our signature. We're continuing now for days, weeks, months, and years to come. We're moving towards our most cherished goals of health, wealth, knowledge of ourselves, protection, security, all positive things, full contentment, and better economic conditions. Every action, enterprise, and endeavor in which they wish to be involved is bringing increasing rewards, positive rewards, good and abundant, successful rewards. We have so much success and abundance that we're able to help and share and give to those who are sincere along the way. And we are moving closer towards the oneness of God and Goddess and the full release of our higher inner selves. Ashe. Amen. Amen Ra. We out, y'all. Peace. Hey, I tell you, Washington East family. We out. Peace.